The date was June 2nd, 2015. Ark had just released and with it brought one map, the island. Tasked with the impossible goal of carrying this brand new game through its first year of release before another map would be added, today we're going to look at everything that makes the island. From its atmosphere, to its creatures, all the engrams you can learn, the bosses that live within it. This is Ark Map Retrospective. Alright, what is going on, people of the internet? Now, as I had just said, Ark was released on June 2nd, 2015, nearly an entire calendar year before the next map would be added into this game. Through its life cycle, no map has seen more expansion and growth than the island. So today, we're going to look back at its history, its significance, and what it's done for this game, and finally, we're going to give it a score. At launch, Ark featured 25 creatures. Not much by today's standard, but then the island isn't a very big map, measured at only 7 by 7 kilometers, or roughly 49 squared kilometers. That's about 18 square miles for all you Americans out there. Today, you'll find over 120 unique creatures all calling the island home, and obviously the map has seen some relative growth and expansion to accommodate for these creatures. In its earliest state, the island actually didn't feature any unique biomes. It only had mountains and forests. But that all changed in September of 2015, 3 months after the game was released, which brought out patch 216, bringing with it the swamp and the snow biomes. In my opinion, this patch is mixed. On the one hand, it added new biomes, which is a very welcome addition, but unfortunately, it didn't actually add any landmass to the island, and it overwrote existing area with new biomes. While the snow biome is very interesting, unfortunately the swamp biome has pretty much zero livable areas, and it serves exclusively to kill and torture players. Furthermore, the swamp biome ate away at a lot of early game areas, in exchange taking what could have been useful bases for new players and turning them into essentially death pits. However, just 9 months later, Ark brought out patch 243, bringing with it the Redwoods and Snow expansion update. In my opinion, this update was a lot better than the previous one. The Redwoods on the island are still a shining example of what the biome can be, and they do it better than most other maps do. While I'm kind of mixed on the Snow expansion, it didn't really overwrite a very important part of the map, and it served to overall give the island a bit more personality. In late 2016, Ark added patch 252 and 253 respectively, both completely overhauling the existing caves on the map and adding 2 massive underwater caves. Finally, in May of 2017, Ark added 257, the final overworld change for the island, completely refreshing the volcano and adding the tech cave. In my opinion, it's relatively unlikely that we will ever see any further updates to how the island is structured. So then, now that the island is in what is likely to be its final state, how is it? Well, like I mentioned, the island is a relatively small map, but this isn't inherently a bad thing. It's a lot more accessible to new players than a map like Ragnarok would be, which is significantly larger and a lot more difficult. While the swamp does take up a significant portion of the map and has wiped out a lot of amazing early game base spots, I would still say that the island has a lot more base spots per capita than pretty much every other map in this game would have. Unfortunately, I think that this accessibility and lack of any real challenge or difficulty comes at a bit of a disadvantage. As for experienced players, the thought of returning to the island sometimes causes nausea and unexpected sicknesses. The island does, however, feature 10 unique caves, 11 if you count the tech cave, the most out of any map. This certainly helps to fill in some semblance of depth, but overall it still lacks the sense of wonder and adventure that many other maps in this game have. Speaking about depth, let's talk about the creatures. By definition, every creature that spawns on the island is a vanilla Ark creature, 123 of them in total. Any creature that doesn't spawn on this map is strictly a DLC creature. This is excellent, and it does have a lot of replayability value because you can have a ton of different playthroughs that all look completely different based off of the creatures that you tame. However, the map is pretty small, and hosting 123 creatures certainly makes it feel cluttered at times. This problem is especially evident when you look at something like the Giga. This map just doesn't feel big enough to house him like that. Certainly not when you look at the Highlands and Ragnarok and how well the Giga fits in there. At no point does it ever really feel like this map is large enough to house something like the Giga on it. Now I know, this video isn't supposed to be about Ragnarok, but there's another thing that map does significantly better than the island, and that is the level of the creatures that spawn on it. The island features creatures that spawn with a right-skewed bell curve. I'm going to put up a visual made by Kitsy Catty on the Steam Workshop for the custom dino level mod. What this basically means is that you're more likely to encounter a creature under level 50 than above level 100. Again, this is fine for new players, however, for an experienced Ark veteran, it's going to be extremely difficult and certainly not worth your time going around this map trying to find creatures to tame if you're ever trying to breed them for better stats. What certainly does work towards this map's advantage are the sheer number of bosses that reside within it. When Ark launched, it featured the Broodmother Listrix as its only spawnable boss. However, in patch 207, the dragon was brought over from Survival of the Fittest. While there was no direct way to spawn it, this would be added later on. In patch 240.2, the Megapithecus was added, a large monkey resembling King Kong, capable of throwing boulders and spawning endless hordes of smaller monkeys for the players to fight. And then finally, in patch 242, in June of 2016, on the 1-year anniversary of Ark, the dragon was spawnable for all players, completing the trifecta of bosses as we know them today. Beyond these 3 bosses resides the Overseer, what is effectively the island's final boss, deep within the tech cave at the very top of the volcano. There are 3 levels that you can beat the Overseer at, Gamma, Beta, and Alpha, each respectively uncapping the player's level by a further 5 levels, increasing the overall level cap for the player from 105 at default to 120. Furthermore, and just like with creatures, all of the tech engrams you're able to unlock on this map are, by definition, vanilla. And in short, it would be a lot easier to list all of the engrams that you're not able to learn on this map that are featured in the tech tier than the ones that you are, making the island a relatively good map for exploring and getting experience with the tech tiers of Ark. Not necessarily for farming element, but certainly for unlocking all of the different engrams. Another interesting thing to note is that there is actually one unique engram that is featured in the tech tier on the island that is not unlockable on any other map. This is the Tech ATV, which is unlocked by beating the Overseer on the Alpha difficulty. Speaking of the Overseer, let's discuss some of the significance of the storyline of this map. Scattered all over the island are explorer notes waiting for the player to discover them so that they can read and experience them. Notable people writing this are Helena Walker and Sir Edmund Rockwell, scientists who discovered that there's something fishy about the island, something's off about this map. Once the player finds themselves defeating the dragon, the Megapithecus, and the spider alike, and you've managed to defeat the Overseer, a cutscene plays in which it's revealed that the island is actually something called an Ark, a strange floating island in the vast emptiness of space. And after you defeated the Overseer, the player is swept up and carried through that space and moved to a different Ark known as Scorched Earth. It is also revealed that the Overseer is meant to be the protector or the guardian of the island, serving to keep watch over all of its residents, keeping everything in balance. As the player kills the Overseer, the island is shown to be flashing in red, indicating that something has either gone wrong, or that the survivor has passed the trials that are the island, indicating that you've finished with this map, thus concluding the storyline of the island. So, now that we've made it here, and we've spoken about the history of this map, the storyline, and how it was built from the ground up, let's discuss how it all ties in and fits together. To make a very long story short, I would say that the island is a map that struggles with duality. On the one hand, it panders towards an early game, being a relatively small map that features a lot of low-level creatures. But you have to look at it from the other perspective, in the sense that this map has more caves, more bosses, more unlockable tech than any of the other maps in this game. And you have to see that it really struggles to carve its own identity out, because it tries to be too many different things at once. Again, there's a heavy focus on endgame content, but the island does very little to actually get the player to that point. There aren't many opportunities to get good creatures on this map because so many of the levels are so low that it's very difficult to start challenging these bosses. As well, the supply crates that spawn on this map generally don't contain very useful items or resources like they would on another map where you'd have to fight for these, such as Extinction. As for the map itself, it is small and definitely does feel cluttered. However, I don't think this works against as much as the last point does, because the island features a ton of memorable and unique locations, such as the volcano, Herbivore Island, Carnivore Island, Stonehenge. As well, playing on the map, it does have a good atmosphere that feels memorable. The Explorer notes certainly help to give it a sense of depth, tracking all the other survivors that came before you through their actions and what they've written down. And as much as I rag on the swamp, and for good reason, I truly believe that is the second worst biome ever made. It provides the player with a hostile environment that they truly don't feel welcome in. All the other biomes that were added through the updates, like the redwoods and the snow and the expanded snow biome, fit the map really well in my opinion. And I think that the island, while small, offers the player a lot of variety in where they can be in such a small environment. If this was all there was to be said about the island, I'm not really sure that you could classify this map as significant. But that's really it, isn't it? While there might be larger maps, more elaborate maps, ones that feature better creatures, are better designed, better looking, more fun to play, even ones that are better in every single way, I'm not sure that there is any other map in this game as significant as the island. When the island first launched alongside Ark, it featured 25 unique creatures. Today, that number has increased 5 times over. No map has been as pivotal to Ark's success as the island, and just as the game has grown, this map has grown alongside it. Overall, I would put the island in a B tier. But, while the island might not be that great of a map on its own, man, what an amazing game did we get out of it. So, that's the end of the video. I sincerely hope that each and every single one of you enjoyed it. This is a video that I've been really wanting to make for quite some time now. Not necessarily the island, but there are a few other maps that I really wanted to talk about, and I wanted to discuss their significance, their importance, and really shine some light on them. Some maps I think that haven't gotten the credit that they deserve. And yeah, I'd be really curious to hear what your guys' favorite moments that you've had were on the island, how you'd score the map, what you'd put in a tier list, what your favorite maps were. It's been a really long time since I made a video, and I've kind of found myself missing it, so I'd really like to hear from you guys on how things have been over the last couple of years. It's been a while. Anyway, you guys all know that I've never once asked for any likes, comments, or subscriptions like that, but I would really appreciate it if you'd like the video, and if you had anybody who you think maybe would get anything out of this, that you'd show them this video and subscribe to the channel, and it would mean a lot to me. Anyway, be on the lookout for a companion video that I'm going to put out for this. I'm going to basically look at the island once more in less detail, and I'm going to talk about its strengths, and then I'm going to basically optimize the map with the rates that I would use, the mods that I would use, and overall try and create what I would envision as the best map for this, or the best mod pack and the best rates for this map. Anyway, that should be coming out maybe in the next week or so. Keep an eye out for that, and thank you all so much for sticking with me through these years. Thanks for watching. Peace.